I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And I have a motion to approve the agenda.
Steve Carr, vote to accept and approve the agenda dated May 12th, 2025 as presented.
Nate Beer, a second.
All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Abstaining? Motion carries. The board welcomes public participation in accordance with the rules of common courtesy and the bylaws of the board 9325 meeting conduct. 5 minutes may be allotted to each speaker and a maximum of 20 minutes to each subject matter. No boisterous conduct shall be permitted. Persistence in boisterous conduct shall be grounds for termination of that person's privilege to address the board. The chairperson may clear the room so that board members may continue the meeting. No oral presentation shall include charges, complaints against any Board of Education employee, regardless of whether or not the employee is identified by name. Speakers are asked to express themselves in a civil manner with due respect for the dignity and privacy of others who may be affected by their comments. While it is not the board's intent to stifle public comment, speakers should be aware that if their statements violate the rights of others under the law of defamation or invasion of privacy, the speaker may be held legally responsible. Speakers unsure of the legal ramification of what they are about to say are urged to consult first with their legal advisor. Per the August 2016 Policy Committee meeting, responses to speakers will be in the form of a written letter from the board chairperson, and that letter will be attached to the meeting minutes. Speakers will not receive a verbal reply to public comment during a meeting. Are there any members of the public who wish to address the board?
Larry Duffany. I'm from Atwood Road here in town. I was here last month and I raised a couple issues, and I kind of want to revisit a couple of things. I did receive a letter from the board on my concerns, and one of my concerns is that if I'm the only person that sees the letter, then there's something in public relations called the 1 to 20 rule. And the 1 to 20 rule says that if one person voices it, there's 20 other people that are thinking about it, but they haven't perhaps had the courage to speak up. And so I'm going to encourage and ask the board and its policy committee to revisit the 2016 policy that says that we're going to get a letter. In the meantime, I promise that I will continue to make your replies public, and I will escalate that. This time it went to Facebook. Next time it goes to the press. I'm not comfortable with the idea that the only person that's going to see a reply to a question that multiple people have is me, unless they go digging through links and whatever in your minutes. I don't think that's fair to the public. I don't think the public is well served. One of the things that you replied to in my comments last time had to do with homework. And it's the policy that you have here and the retakes. And what you cited as in your letter was that it is best policy. Well, I went back and I did my own research and I looked at 10 different studies. And you know what I found? I found that absolutely there is no agreement in the researchers about the policy that you have. As a matter of fact, the ones who even espouse this homework policy say this: even still, it's impossible to get the kids to do the homework without having something attached to it, like a grade. So even those who are say that you're citing as best practice say that the best practice fails. So I'm going to encourage you to consider that one again as well. Finally, you have a policy on final exams, and that is that you don't have any. Well, not only am I a college professor, I'm also an emergency services instructor. And I have found that students that are coming to me right out of high school do not do well on my final exam, and they do not do well on the national registry. Most of them, and that's not all of my students. As a matter of fact, most of my students not from town that do have final exams do very well. Why? Because they've learned how to take a high stakes test, one that's required for licensing. It is fundamentally unfair to your students that the first time that they see a final exam is the day that they walk into a licensing situation or the first final exam at the college level. This is unfair to them. They don't know where to look. They don't know how to prepare. And so I challenge the policy. And I'm asking you to reconsider. This isn't about me. This is about, I don't have kids in these schools. This is about serving the kids here to make sure that they do the best that they can, that they are the best equipped that they can be. And so for homework, it is, do they have the work ethic? No, they don't. And they don't have the way to prepare for the exams when they come. These policies are failing the kids. And I'm asking you to reconsider. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Arthur Quinn. Been a resident of Thomaston for 52 years, my entire life. Graduated high school right here in 1990 with Beth Campbell. So on Thursday, I became a little bit concerned, and I want to state that I'm not pro and I'm not against the budget. I want to be very clear with that. Became a little concerned when I saw the vote yes signs that were popping up on school property. And my concern is, this is where the students go. This should be the sacred land. This is akin to bringing politics into the school system. Those signs belong in residents' front yards. They do not belong on town property. Francine and I had an email thread going back and forth all through the weekend. She took the time to actually get a legal opinion on this. The one thing I requested through Ed Moan, and he forwarded it to her, was that the signs be removed, which they were temporarily until that legal opinion came in. Then they reappeared. They're outside the center school. Do we really think that middle schoolers need to see vote yes signs? Now, I need to remind you, by statute, if you allow the vote yes signs, you also have to allow the vote no signs. That's the law. Do we really want to do this to our school children? This is not the place. And I asked the Board of Ed to take charge of this and come up with a policy, because you oversee the superintendent, you oversee the grounds. At the end of the day, it's town property. I've already approached the Board of Selectmen. I have an email into them to request to be put on the agenda to have them draft an ordinance to make sure this doesn't happen again. I don't want to see vote no signs on my school property. I don't want to see vote yes signs. I don't want to see Trump and Harris signs on the school property. Where does it end? Again, I've lived here for 52 years. This has never, ever happened before. And to see them, the high school is bad enough. But when I have to go and see the little kids at the center school that had multiple signs on their school property that said vote yes, they shouldn't get in the car when mom and dad pick them up from school at the end of the school day and feel that they're intimidated and they have to be concerned because it says for our kids. It's intimidating. It's not the right angle for these children. And I don't think our school property should be involved in this. This is democracy. Everybody has a right to vote the way they want to. If people wanted to go out banging on doors like they do a political season and say, hey, you want to put up a sign in your front yard to vote yes? That's their choice. That's their property. This is taxpayer-owned property. This is the issue that I have. So I ask you guys to either draft a policy or ask that this never happen again. Because like I said, I've already gone to the Board of Selectmen to ask them to craft, but you guys should do this on your own because it's the right thing to do. I don't think, and again, it's state law. If you allow the vote yes, you have to allow the vote no's. I don't think we should have vote yes, vote no, and basically have a pissing match out there on the front lawn of our schools. It's wrong. It's wrong for the taxpayers. It's wrong for the students. So let's do the right thing and not allow that. Those signs should be taken down like I asked. They were taken down temporarily. They were put back up on Friday. Then they've appeared on off ramps. They've appeared in town parks, which were also removed because they're not allowed to be down there. But they shouldn't be on the school property at all. The kids come first. This is their land. You shouldn't be pushing anything on. Nothing drives me more crazy than people that push a political agenda or anything on the kids. Kids are innocent. Let's let them grow up and make their own decisions. But this shouldn't be on the front lawn of their school where they're being educated. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming. Thank you for all the board members here. I myself, board member Nathan Vieira, live on 131 Humison Circle. Just want to talk about a few things that I discussed at the last meeting in public comment and where the conversation has gone into this month. So last month, I talked about how as board members, we should be more front and center, communicating decisions on the front lines more directly with where the public is at, not just putting stuff in the agendas and through Parent Square, which has a limited reach. And how going forward, we're entering into an age to where we cannot be a cold entity in what's supposed to be a warm system. One thing I'd just like to remind the public, everyone listening at home, is we got the referendum on Wednesday. For the parents listening, for the staff that live in the town, vote yes. Make sure you turn out and vote on the 14th. It's normal voting hours. I implore you to do so. Going forward, I think we're going to be going into a new era as a town with how the state is overreaching onto our town and many other towns' autonomy in terms of how we're collecting revenue, in terms of what we're spending on. When we as a town have over 1,400 unfunded mandates that we have to enforce. And on top of that, not even just how much we could collect, but how we can collect it. The shifting goalposts that if you listen to the Board of Finance hearing, talking about how we're able to collect and how we're assessing automobiles. Those are things that make stuff tough for us as a school district. And I don't think that this is going to be the last referendum in the upcoming years. So we're going to have to become more proactive. We're going to really have to put our heads together as board members in a way that the rules will permit an order going forward. And I'm sure just as myself, other board members up on this stage have been talking to people they know, talking to parents in the school system that they know, talking to their neighbors about supporting this budget, because when these budgets fail, they get worse. Make no mistake about it. I just think going forward, we're gonna have to work more collaboratively, a lot more publicly, and we're going to have to make a rigid system going to next year to prepare just for the chance of there being another referendum, which, make no mistake, I think there will be. I don't have a magic crystal ball or anything like that, but the repositioning of the state and how combative they've been with the autonomy of towns, that's something we're going to have to adapt with. It's not going away this year. This is the first referendum in over a decade we've had. I don't think it's going to be the last. And I think that we're going to have to be proactive in that sense and much more direct with the community. But again, thank you all for coming. Vote yes on Wednesday.
Frank Traglia, 222 Clay Street. I'm speaking to you as a resident, not as a Board of Ed member. I agree with Mr. Quinn on the signs. I wish we could take them down, but I'm pretty sure the person that put them up is the one that needs to take them down. So if anybody knows who put them up, please remove them. Thank you. That's all I can say, but you need to remove those signs off school grounds. We are intimidating the kids, especially in Black Rock or Center School. Thank you.
Unless there's any other members of the public that wish to address the board, we will move on. Okay, if I can have an approval of the minutes, please.
Steve Carr, vote to accept and approve the regular meeting minutes dated April 21st, 2025 as presented.
Maybe a second.
Corrections? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstain? Matt, you're abstaining? Moving into our recognitions. First, we have our April Rotary Student of the Month, Francesco Treglia. As you can see, Francesco was honored at the Rotary Luncheon last month. And he was also honored at the Student of the Month breakfast with our other students. We had Francesco, Tyler Veronese, our board representative, Brooke Salvietti, Ava Nicosia, Spencer Dobos, Olivia Mower, Gavin McGee, Isabella Van Ormer, Scott Palladino, Colin Mower, Maeve Hawley, Colton St. Pierre, Ellen Novakowski, and Luca Rinaldi. Congratulations to all of them. We have our Connecticut Association of Public School Superintendents, Litchfield County Superintendent Association Student Recognition. From grade 12, we have Connor Birkenberger, Emily Morton. From grade 8, Colton Chase, and grade 6 was Kate Mazzarella. They were honored at a banquet on Tuesday, May 5th at the Grand Oak Villa with their parents and Superintendent Quas. So we offer them our congratulations. We have our Connecticut Association of Schools Scholar Athlete Awards, and our honorees were Liliana Van Ormer and Erti Shrepke. And they were honored at an awards banquet on May 4th at the AquaTurf. And this annual event recognizes 2 high school seniors from each member school who excel in both academics, athletics, demonstrating integrity, self-discipline, and courage. Congratulations again. We have our top SAT scorers from grade 11, Gracie Marble, Mackenzie Chase, who does our audio and visual for us, Avery McDonald, G. Wilmot Hungerford, and Brianna Renaulter. Congratulations to them. So we have a shout out to our promoting real world learning through collaboration, grants, and hands-on experience. Our honorees are Eileen Stowe and James Newton, our science teachers here at Thomaston High School. This school year, Eileen Stowe and James Newton, along with their colleagues in the Thomaston High School Science Department, set forth with a clear set of goals. Collaborate with colleagues and community experts to create real-world learning experiences that prepare students for the workforce. Catalog and organize materials to maximize the resources available for more engaging hands-on lessons. And write grants to secure resources such as lab equipment, real-world experiences for students, and access to experts in their respective fields. Each of these goals required extensive planning, collaboration, and careful funding allocation. Thanks to their collective efforts, our students had the opportunity to engage with and learn from the following organizations: Long Island Sound, Project Oceanography, Eastern Connecticut State University CREATE, Watershed Fieldwork, Waterbury Police Department, Trout in the Classroom, Outdoor Classroom, United States Army, Crosby High School, Waterbury Public Schools, the University of Connecticut. On behalf of our school community, I would like to extend a heartfelt thank you to Eileen and James for their unwavering commitment to student learning. Your dedication to exposing students to the wide array of opportunities in science and your consistent efforts to make learning exciting and meaningful are deeply appreciated. Thank you for going above and beyond to enrich the educational experience for all students at THS. And this was submitted by Mrs. Kingsbury. So congratulations and thank you again. Our next shout out is to Lisa Lavoie for ensuring mutual respect, safety, and civility in all public school interactions. This month, the Board of Education proudly recognizes Lisa Lavoie, Board Certified Behavior Analyst for Thomaston Public Schools, as the May Staff Shout Out honoree. Lisa's unwavering professionalism and calm, principled response during a difficult encounter with a member of the public not only upheld our district's values, but also served as the catalyst for meaningful policy change. In the spirit of turning lemons into lemonade, Lisa transformed a negative experience into a powerful opportunity for systematic improvement. Her actions directly inspired the revision of Policy 1316, Conduct on School Property, and contributed to the development of 2 new policies now moving through the board's approval process. These updates reinforce our district's commitment to mutual respect, safety, and civility in all public school interactions. Lisa's grace under pressure, dedication to maintaining respectful learning environments, and commitment to supporting students and staff alike exemplify the highest standards of Thomaston Public Schools. We are grateful to Lisa for her resilience, integrity, and ability to turn adversity into meaningful progress. And this was submitted by Superintendent Costs. Congratulations, Lisa, and thank you very much. And our May 2025 Staff Spotlight honoree is Tammy Dumas. Dear esteemed members of the Thomaston Public Schools Board of Education, Superintendent Costs, and members of our community. If you've been a part of Thomaston Public Schools for a while, chances are you know Tammy Dumas. A dedicated veteran of our district, Tammy brings a depth of experience and a fierce heart to everything she does. Over the past 6 years, I've come to deeply rely on Tammy, not just for her institutional knowledge, but for her unwavering commitment to what's right. She is a fearless advocate for our students, never hesitating to speak up when their needs are on the line. That same passion carries through in her support for colleagues. The high school special education team consistently turns to her for insight, empathy, and sound judgment. Tammy is also our CT SEDS guru, always ready to jump in and help ensure that our practices meet both legal standards and compassionate expectations. Thanks to her, we're not only compliant, we're also caring, consistent, and always striving for better. Tammy, your legacy at Thomaston Public Schools continues to shine bright. Thank you for being both a steady hand and a courageous voice for students and staff alike. Here are a few quotes from her colleagues. While I have worked with Tammy for around 20 years, she has been very consistent, totally student committed. She is kind, gentle, and patient while working with the kids in our schools who need the most support. In addition, Tammy is organized and focused and often aids the faculty when it comes to executing IEPs effectively. Her experience is a valuable resource for regular education teachers who need guidance navigating the intricacies of IEPs and student plans. She is beyond vital to the overall success of our building. Tammy is always available to lend a helping hand, whether it be with lessons, getting ready for a PPT, but especially with CT SEDS. She has a fabulous sense of humor, is creative, and dedicated to her family, Mike, Mackenzie, Madison, and her dog Moose. That was submitted by Karen Payne. Tammy is always advocating for her students. She is always approachable and friendly, and she makes amazing cupcakes. Doreen Jaskowitz. Tammy is a dedicated, proud mother to her talented daughters. She is their biggest supporter. She is also very thoughtful and a fantastic baker. Anytime there is any kind of celebration, she bakes something amazing and shares with everyone. When I was pregnant with my 2 younger boys, she made the most adorable baby shower cakes and organized a celebration during our team time. And she even helped me pick out names. Tammy would give anyone the shirt off her back. It's from Erica Flanagan. She is very proud of her 2 daughters that are on the Yukon dance team. She enjoys going to watch them perform during games at stores. She is always smiling and tries to see the positive in all situations. Submitted by Janice Ellis. And this was recommended by Andrea Peters, the Director of Pupil Services. Well deserved. Congratulations. Next up, we have our presentations, and we have the Thomaston High School Science Club with Emily Morton, Britta Sagafi, Tess Harkness, and Valentine Colasso.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for having us tonight. I'm Emily Moore, and I'm a senior here at Thomaston High School, and I've been a member of the Science Club since I've been a freshman. And my role is taking all the pictures you see on our new website created by the Science Club as a whole. And one message we really tend to do is we want to make everything educational. We love to take educational field trips. Recently, on Thursday of last week, as you could see the pictures rotating, we went down to Project Oceanology in Groton, and we were able to go on one of their boats, and we were able to look at different species, specifically a lot of spider crabs, and we were able to measure them and be able to know the difference between a male and a female. And then some other trips we've been on, we've been to Project Oceanology twice now, and we've actually had them come to us. And then we've taken a lot of trips to different water treatment plants, as you'll hear more from Tess and Britta. And then also one other thing we've done was being able to go to an aquarium to look at different fish. Thank you. And then I'll pass it over to Tess and Britta.
My name is Britta Sagafi. I'm in 8th grade, and I'm Tess Harkness. I'm also in 8th grade. So we're in the LIS branch of the Science Club. We just joined this year because it's new. But basically our goal, we're trying to learn how each of us affects the waterways or our waterways and Long Island Sound. So what we took in a lot of field trips just to understand like how the water drop, like a life of a water drop and how it goes through like how it gets like we went to the water treatment plant and the septic plant. Okay. And so we learned how water gets cleaned or like and gets back into the water so we're able to drink it. Cleaned. Yeah, so we've also we went to the aquarium a couple weeks ago and we met up with a bunch of different schools and we presented and just kind of explained what we've all been doing and kind of how we've all have approached this topic. And posters somewhere out here. But we were kind of we learned a lot from other schools and we got some good ideas. Yeah, and then recently we just went to like test water testing to see like what kind of, I don't remember exactly what we tested for, but to see like what things might be in the water and hopefully find like where it's coming from and how we can stop it. Here's our post.
Hello, my name is Valentine Colasso. I'm another member of the Science Club, and I am one of the people in charge of the Trout in the Classroom. This was started this year as my senior capstone, and I hope to pass it down and keep it running through the Science Club. As some of my peers were saying before, the Thomaston Science Club, as you noticed, focuses a lot on the waterways. We do have a lot of field trips. Not all students could make it to those, so our hope is that having this fish tank in the classroom to observe the fish's life cycle and their development. It could give, you know, a nice helping hand to the ones that aren't able to come with us. There's pictures of what we like have gone through. We got these fish as eggs. We've hatched them and raised them since. My two mentors have helped me a lot with it, but it's just something that we are able to share with the students who aren't able to go on field trips. Just like we did when we went to the sound to test, we test all the water in the fish tank. There is a select group of students that we're currently training to keep up and maintain this tank, as well as, you know, just, you know, hand it down and keep it running. Honestly, I'm very happy with how far it's come. We weren't very optimistic in the beginning as far as like the survival rates of the fish, but they have held through with us. No, this is just something to help, you know, inspire some of the kids to get more involved in LSA, right? Or LIS, sorry. But it's just, you know, it helps teach how like fragile the water system is. Like we just recently had a nitrite spike in our water levels and it's kind of concerning. James Newton, who had to leave, took care of that today with a water change. But it's just the water cycle is so fragile and we're trying to, you know, show other students how they can help and, you know, just how easy it is to be disrupted. Also, it's fun. A lot of kids don't really want to get into like the sciencey part, but you know, when they see fish swimming in a fish tank, they like to go look and tap in the class. There is a live stream. If you click on it, should be a live link. The fish tank has a 24-hour live stream going to it. We got the idea. There's a website called Fish Doorbell, and essentially they just put a camera in a lake and they have people like look at the fish when they swim by so they could document it. Ours is more just so you could get an idea of what we do. That way, maybe, you know, other schools could get a similar idea or try something similar in their classroom. It's fun, you know, and it's just, it tries to bring people together to see the local waterways.
Beth Campbell. Is this already up on the district website for on the high schools page yet? Or how can I
yes.
watch the live webcam of the fish?
The live webcam, I know we had a link posted to the Facebook page by Steve Malo, but we were having a couple issues with it. I don't know if we've got that sorted out yet. But the link will bring you to the YouTube page and you could just go to the live streams that are running currently.
I think I'm smelling a adoptive fish donation program for the school systems.
I mean, I know we were thinking about doing a name your own fish fundraiser, but we do have a release date on the 28th. Any other questions?
Yes, Val, I have a question. That me, when the trout become of size, or is there a release to the Naugatuck River that's going to occur?
I'm not sure what river we're releasing them to, but we do have a release. They're not going to be of size by that time. I don't really want to talk about it, but they probably will end up getting eaten by stuff. They're too small right now. I mean, if you look at the screen, they're so tiny. Even like little, you know, shiners or minnows could really eat them right now. Hopefully some will survive and, you know, maybe if you go fishing, you could catch a couple.
And throw it back.
This is Sarah Ethier. I just wanted to say thank you to you guys and the science department for bringing these experiences to our students. My son did take part and he's learned so much and he's come home and shared that. And I think it's just a very rewarding experience. So thank you.
Is there any more questions? All right, thank you.
We do have to move on from the fish, people. So our next presentation is regarding the increase in meal prices for the 25-26 school year. And we have our food service director, Jennifer Zerilli.
Okay. Oh, hi, my name's Jen Zerle. I'm the food service director for Thomaston Schools. So I came today to talk about a proposed meal price increase. So just a little bit about the food service department. We are a self-sustaining department. We operate solely off of the revenue that the department brings in from the sale of food and from federal and state reimbursement that we get to the program. So it's not budgeted in the it's in the school budget at all. Meal prices have been unchanged since December 2022, and I think everybody's seen a rise in food and labor costs since then. So the proposal is, really needed to align with the 2024 and 25 paid weighted lunch average cost, which is the cost of the federal reimbursement that we receive for a free meal, subtracted by the reimbursement that we get for a paid meal as well. So this price increase was based on actually last year's reimbursement rate. So next year, the weighted lunch average will be actually higher than the 385. And the goal is to maintain food quality and meet financial obligations. So I don't know if you want to go to the next couple slides. I'm under cost pressures. So we've seen significant increases in food and labor costs. It was challenging to look back over the past 5 years because the changes in COVID that we've seen, but in school year 18 and 19, food cost was about 36% of our revenue. And in last year, it was 48% of our revenue. So it was a significant increase. And in a few slides, I'll go over what I anticipate the cost of food and labor and different things to be in accordance to our revenue. So we have seen inflation in market competition impacting our budget. And like I had said before, it's a risk to the quality of meals without adjusting. And as the paid lunch equity, the average cost continues to increase, then we would get further behind that weighted average. If you go to the next rationale slide, you could see the current average paid lunch equity is 385 compared to our weighted paid lunch cost is 344. So it's a significant difference. And like I said, it's expected to grow next school year. So if you go to the next slide on sustainability and equity. So currently, our paid lunch pricing allows us only to spend, if I look at spending about 40% of our revenue on food, $1.54 per lunch and 96 cents per breakfast, which is really low considering we need to include grain option, protein option, milk option, and fruit and vegetable option, which we offer multiple fruit and vegetable options with our meals. And this is not sustainable for meeting USDA nutritional standards. Price increases ensures equity and continued meal quality. So on the next slide, it goes over the proposed meal price increases of 40 cents to get to the current year's weighted average, which again will be lower than next year's paid lunch weighted average. So, I've been talking about the paid lunch equity throughout the presentation, and what the paid lunch equity is what it ensures that average ensures that paid lunches are self-sufficient and not relying on the funds earned from the additional free and reduced lunch funds that we receive. And schools that have higher free and reduced numbers, you might see that they're able to charge less for their meals because they rely on the funding that they receive from the federal government for free or reduced meals. Whereas we're at about 35% free or reduced percentage. So the majority of our meals are coming and our revenue is from paid meals. So the next slide reviews the current meal prices in surrounding districts. So you could see some are lower and some are higher than ours. Currently, it's not you know, that as standardized is kind of different from district to district, probably depending on the funding that they receive for free and reduced meals and what they receive in revenue overall. And then the following, and you could see too, there was a question about if any schools had a central kitchen. So I included that there, none of these schools had a central kitchen. And then the next slide goes over the Thomaston Dergs. So these are schools that are in our same Derg. So I compared Coventry, East Haddam, Litchfield, and North Stonington. And one of the schools did have a somewhat of a central kitchen where one school made cold foods and the other school made hot foods, and they kind of split it. But that district only had 2 schools actually. So and again, you could see differences in the what is charged for paid meals in those districts. And this is this year's current meal prices. I know some of the districts are considering increasing also next school year. So, and then the board had some questions that I answered about our primary food supplier. So we currently, for next school year, our primary grocer will be HPC, and we're part of a buying group. So we, I forget how many districts are actually in my buying group, but we have a number, we go out to RFP, and then we rate the food suppliers that respond to RFP based on price, which is weighted the highest, and service. So we, from being a part of a buying group, we have buying power, get better prices on things that way. And other potential food suppliers, like I said, there were 5 that responded, and that HPC was the one that was chose based on the price and service.
Jen, this is Francine speaking. So there was a question about sharing the cost, and I want to be clear on what you're saying about sharing a supplier. We're not buying chicken with Woolkit.
No.
So we buy from the supplier and get the discount because we're in this group, but it's just the Thomaston food that we're buying. and
Yes.
Woolkit buys the Woolkit food.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, we
just
have
wanna
our
be clear on
own, order sheet. It's only associated with Thomaston, but the pricing is what is the same amongst the districts. Thank you. Let's see, so food cost trends, I went over that a little bit before, that we had seen an increase in the percentage of revenue and labor that needs to go to food and labor. Pre-lunch procedures in Thomaston. So that's kind of how we receive our lunch counts and predictions. So at Black Rock, we do receive meal counts, and otherwise we look back and at Center School and Thomaston High School to see at that meal, how many did we sell the last time, and we batch cook in between waves, make sure we always have enough for kids, that we don't run out, but that we're not having a surplus, and the staff is very, very conscientious about that. So, and the impact on the food service department budget and the BOE budget if the cost of meals are not increased over the next school year. So it does, we could not, like in the future, we could not meet the regulations of the paid lunch equity if we continue to not increase. So if you have a positive balance, which we do, we are able to complete an exemption on not increasing meal prices, but the more you do that, the further you get away from that average, the more you place your program at risk, because you don't want to get to a point where all of a sudden you're $1.50 or a big number away from that paid lunch equity average. And we would, we could continue to be over budget for food and labor and other indirect costs. And while we have an excess fund now, over time that would be depleted, and then that amount that we're over could then go to the board to have to pay. Which is, we always try to balance our budget. So we're using that excess fund to really improve the program through equipment that is needed and things like that. And let's see, it could cause us to delay other upgrades. We can make to improve the program and increase participation, provide better quality food, and lower meal quality could lead to criticism and decreased participation in inequities in the program. And over time, if I already had spoke about that, sorry. So regardless of the price increase, I would still work to optimize our free and reduced applications and advocating for our families to apply for food stamps, which leads to free meals and other food benefits, and on participation in giving the students, the foods that they would like. So the cost per dollar, this was based from Meriden Public Schools, but it's a nice illustration of what our dollar goes to, that, what percentage goes to labor, what percentage goes to food, and then we have these other costs like equipment repairs, new equipment, our technology, like our point of service system, other things that we need to operate. So that was my presentation. I don't know if anybody has questions.
Sarah Ethier, I'm just wondering about the snacks.
Mhm.
How does that affect it? Because I do know that those prices went up recently, and I
Mhm.
don't think we voted on that either.
That was a la carte pricing, so it didn't require board approval to adjust, and we had gotten far behind again by not increasing our a la carte pricing, which is directly related to the cost of the food that we buy, and actually CSD has a tool that you could use to adjust the a la carte pricing, make sure you're charging enough for what it costs for that product. Mhm.
Hi, Nate Viera. I'm having a bit of a hard time grasping where this exact $3.85 comes from.
Mhm.
Is that national standard? Are we talking about national standards? Is this a state standard?
It is a national
National.
standard. Yeah, so we receive, for every free meal, we receive $4.45 for currently. So the weighted average will go up. And then we receive 45 cents for every paid meal for reimbursement. So those two numbers get subtracted. So then you get the new paid lunch equity. So imagine it will go up to that difference next year or for next school year.
So there's a very likely chance that we're going to be raising prices again next year.
Well,
Is
it
that the case?
depends. I think it depends. Are we able to increase the free or reduced prices? Or not prices, the
percentage.
percentage, and how the program does with that, and and if we're able to increase participation too. So all of those variables take place, and we have to see how we're doing with the budget. So
And how close are we to said percentage?
to which percentage?
Well, the percentage of students that we have that are on for reduced lunch to where it gets unlocked for the rest of the district.
Well, I don't think we will be close to being able to
Not
do
able to.
that. Yeah. Mhm.
All right. One question I have about the presentation. I took a look at the presentation when it came out of budget audit. And I saw that there was something about an option. It seems to be scrapped out of the presentation that was talking about staggering said
Mhm.
increase. What happened with that? Was that deemed non-feasible? Or I remember reading it and then I did a read
Mhm.
over the weekend again, so it's fresh before the board meeting and it's not there. So I'm just wondering what happened with that option.
That was also going to be one of my questions, if we could, stagger the increase over the next couple of years,
Yeah.
not to hit everybody all at once.
We want budget to pass.
So this is Francine. The Budget Audit Committee directed Jen on making this presentation with this dollar amount. The concern was
that doing a step increase, if we didn't start high enough, we may never really make the progress. So the concern of what you saw in the original was too low to get started to really keep us up. So that's, Jen is presenting what the Budget Audit Committee asked her to present.
Again, I'm just confused where that option came from that was in the presentation because it talked about staggering.
Yeah, that was Jen's option. She was proposing that to the Budget Audit Committee.
I'll speak to that. We had the discussion because it was an understanding that if we do not meet if we don't have some increase and we fall below at the end of a deficit, we can lose the benefits that we currently have. So it creates even a bigger gap, which means we wouldn't even have the option of doing the step ups. It was, we have to at least hit this as close to the average as we can get, because if we don't, and even though she's been doing an amazing job at budgeting and putting all the programs together, if the costs come up where we fall outside of that percentage, something we have to dip into or find somewhere to come up with the money because it's no longer in that budget.
Yes.
So with the tightness of the budget and how we have to keep everything aligned, this particular program, as it's a self-sufficient program currently, if we fell below that percentage, it wouldn't be, and that's where it puts a strain on our budget as the board, which we don't have room for any breadth on that, unfortunately. And that's why it's the recommendation to get as close to the standard that we can.
Yeah, and just to reiterate what Steve was saying is that here we go, let's try it again. So what we discussed at the Budget Audit Committee meeting was that if they fall short, the board absorbs it. So then it'll be something else to go into our budget that we don't have room for currently. So our concern was that if we don't, then it's just one more thing that we're putting into the Board of Ed budget. And at that point, it's not optional. You know what I mean? The board just has to absorb it. That's it.
My turn. Tanya Galpin. I have two questions on this. First being, that $7,000 hole that we have that we just keep giving kids free lunch, but they're in a hole. Is there any consequences that they don't pay their bills? Like, do we stop them from going on field trips? Do we do anything like that? Because in my mind, I'm not going to pay my bill and my kids can eat for free. That's how that mentality is going to keep going. Right. And then, I forgot what I was so upset by that $7,000 still. Like that's, and everybody that I know keeps coming to me and asking me, well, because it was said in the meeting that were $7,000. And if there's no consequences, then why should I pay my bill? Right. And then, the second part of it is, we're banking on money that we don't have. That's my issue with this, right? We're banking on money that we don't have. That being said, we're talking about the people asking them to fill out these forms. I'm going to tell you right now, there's a lot of us that only make $2,000 more than that threshold. And we don't qualify, but yet here we are. So there's, and that's a lot of this town, right? There is not that many that qualify, but we're banking on it. Okay. And you could say that there are, but they're not. They all make about $1,000 or $2,000 more, and there's no room wiggle on that. So I think that we need to look at that a little bit better, right? We can't be banking on money we don't have. People to qualify, Roxy.
We're not banking on that.
No, yes, we are.
we're
We're
not.
saying we are. We are saying, hey, let's get these people to fill out all these applications so we can bring that threshold up. That's what we are saying.
No, we're saying we need to pay more money as families paying for these meals.
Correct.
Because we can't afford to keep going with this program because no one is paying for it.
Right. But what we
We're
did
not
talk
banking
about
on the
them.
people. No, we're
pay.
encouraging people to fill out the forms
Right.
to see if they qualify. but
Right,
We're
so
not
we
banking
can
on that
bring-
to support the program.
Okay, so my question is, so they fill out these forms, miraculously, all these people get on this thing, right? So does our lunches go down then? Or no, we still pay the 40 cents more, right?
If they qualify, then they qualify.
I think Jen can re-explain it. We're banking on both.
Correct, thank
We're
you.
banking on both. So Jen had made a point, and Jen can speak to this during the Budget Audit Committee meeting. There are two different thresholds, which really upset me when you
Mhm.
revealed that information. There's a higher threshold if you just apply for free and reduced lunch. The threshold is a better threshold for qualifying if you apply for SNAP.
Mm-hmm.
So Jen was talking about that. So we really need to push that out there with our families to let them know. As I said last meeting, we have some very proud families in Thomaston. We also have some families who want the benefit and they just missed the threshold. So Jen will speak to those two different thresholds that might help, especially in this public forum where parents are listening in. But the other part of it is the more we have free lunches coming in, you could tell the difference between the $4.45 versus the 45 cents. Yes, that will help offset the cost of other lunches, right? Because we're not charging the $4.45, but we don't have enough volume to be like a big city where we can then say everybody gets a free meal. But we also don't have enough volume to say we can keep the rate of the cost as low as it is. We have to increase it somewhat to keep those two numbers, the 4.45 and the 45 cents, closer and closer together. They're so very far apart now. So that we are banking on both, Tanya, what you were saying and what Roxy's saying, both the same thing. But I think Jen needs to explain the
Yeah, I
different
could
thresholds. I
explain the
think that would be
difference.
helpful.
So last October, the guidelines for SNAP for food stamps actually changed to be 200% of the poverty level, which the free and reduced meal application is 130%. So it's actually a higher income that you could be allowed to get SNAP, and SNAP gives free meals for the whole year. You don't have to apply for free meals. So it is automatic. So it's actually easier to apply for SNAP. Then you get your free school meals and other, other food benefits too. That information is on our website, and it's also, I had sent it out through Parent Square before a couple times, but we're working on ways. Francine had a good idea to do a podcast on SNAP, and there's also summer EBT, which there are some benefits to that as well. So I'm kind of really trying to educate our families and our students on the benefits that they could have too.
This is Sarah Ethier. I'm just thinking about, as Tanya stated, those families that are right below that threshold. 40 cents is a lot of money. I mean, 40 cents is a lot of money for anybody. So what happens when people stop eating the lunch? It's almost like we're, counterintuitive to like raising the price. Families are going to stop buying the lunch for their children. So then what happens? We're going to raise it even more. I just don't think that we can raise it 40 cents this year and then 20 cents next year. Like that's a lot of money and some people can't afford it. And this might be the only meal that they're getting. Like that's where my worry is. And that is why I can't support this.
Steve Carr, I think to the point with the qualifying for SNAP, because it's such a, I don't want to say easier, but it has a higher percentage threshold, that $2,000 out of range, it's going to be closer with the SNAP program. So if you qualify for the SNAP, you qualify for the school program. So it's kind of that close gap is now closer. It's, there's less of that gap, or there's a better chance that they will qualify for it now, just going through the SNAP program.
I would like to ask the board members, because I'm getting the feeling that they're not interested in this increase of 40 cents, but we need some type of increase. We have to start moving that closer to what is the more appropriate price. What would be, if we want to go back to what you were looking at, Jen, originally with the board budget audit committee, do you recall off the top of your head the trend, the tiering that you were looking at?
Yes, I was suggesting 25 cents for next school year and then reevaluating back to this committee next year, where I could see how did it change participation? How was the quality of meals affected? How is our budget with labor and food costs next year? So then we could kind of bring it back to reevaluate that and do a more tiered increase, which I think is reasonable also, and it will not cause us to come to, back to the board to ask for and any funds for next school year. But it does help us, not get such of a big gap between the weighted lunch average and and what we're charging, because I think it could end up being a big gap, and we don't want it to continue. So I think a smaller increase is reasonable and a way that we could look at it. And I'm a parent also in a different district. I understand, I have 3 kids. I understand the cost of meals and how expensive everything has gotten to. And I'm a dietitian, pediatric dietitian. All I would do is want to feed kids. I wish they were free, but they're not. So I always advocate for free meals for our students. But
Give the board an idea of the difference, that you know what it will cost a family. So if we're looking at 40 cents at 180 days, so 40 cents a meal for every school day, you'd have $72 more a year. If it's 25 cents, it's $45 more a year. Just want to give you that difference so you have a real hard number to think about.
I just want to say, when we're looking at, and this is why I brought up the staggering plan, because when I originally saw that in budget audit committee, I thought, that's a pretty good compromise. That's something to where we could go in, reassess. Again, figured you guys saw stuff in budget audit when I saw it was removed that, okay, maybe this isn't fiscally responsible. I think we are going to have to go up. It's just about find that happy medium. And I think this is just too big of an increase. And I mean, you're talking about those prices, Francie, and look, everyone gets it. Everyone on this board's got a heart, but the people I'm concerned about is just like Tanya is saying, the people are just over the threshold by a few grand, and you got 4 kids. That adds up. And I mean, if that 25 number, and then we reassess, reevaluate, and go back on this next year and see what the numbers are. And look, I hear you. If we got to increase even higher, then we're looking at a big jump again. But I remember, I think this is a much more productive conversation than last month's meeting when we're talking about, oh, this is how many, what percentage we need in order to qualify, and we raise prices. It incentivizes people to go on government assistance. I mean, I don't think that's where our head should be at. We're trying to implement this in the evolving economy, how we're going to tackle this issue in the most appropriate way that is the best for the parents in the district, who are the ones paying for these meals. And we were talking about the deficit at the last meeting, and how well, we can't even use this money that's raised if there's a surplus compared to the meals to pay off those who were not paying for the meals. And if we're able to go up 25 cents, and there's a head nod from the people actually such as yourself, who are actually putting these presentations together, looking at the numbers, who run the program, and say that's feasible for the time being, I think that's a good compromise.
Jennifer, I just want to thank you for all this presentation.
Oh, you're welcome.
And going through it all, because I know that's a lot of work for you. And I have to say 25 cents is much better. We're just coming into a referendum with a large tax increase to all of us. And then just to see everything just keep going up is a lot. And I think that that's the responsible thing for this board to do.
Jen, I would like you to answer Tanya's question about what we are allowed to do when someone just takes a lunch and doesn't pay for it. I think that this board will appreciate the education because there are things that we used to be able to do that we are no longer permitted to do to deter this type of behavior. So Jen will explain.
Yes, unfortunately, we really aren't able at the point of service to say anything because of the No Shame Act, which allows a student to get the same meal as everybody else. We can no longer, provide a cheese sandwich, which I think everyone could agree that is shaming, and a child deserves like adequate meals to eat. It's not their responsibility to pay for the meals, but with the No Shame Act, yeah, you cannot have a negative consequence. You cannot use the own food service fund to pay for the negative balances. So it is a problem overall throughout the whole state, the negative balance issue. So I know I'm working on a process that we can use in the district, in both districts, to better manage the negative balances and from early on in the year to kind of hopefully prevent them from getting higher. So I'll be working on that with Francine and Tracy. Francine was able to connect us with the other districts across the state, which was really helpful. So we really could see in a written email and talk to other districts to see what they do for their negative balances and come up with the best procedure for us. And it was really helpful, and ways other staff in the district too could work together to help support students who need help too. So.
You sure? Well, one thing I just also want to say, I did look into after the presentation came out, budget audit. I did take the time. I looked at the one, obviously the proposed plan, and then the comparisons in the DERG, and then I was bored, but I looked at the minutes from some of those boards of education, and you got Coventry in there. They're bringing up that they're going to have to, but they're waiting until next year to do it. We're ahead of the ball, and I'm glad we're ahead of the ball and we're talking about it now instead of kicking the can down the road. But in terms of the implementation, I mean, I think, again, we're going to have to, I think, compromise is best. 25 cents. Don't know if we are going to entertain that, if we got to amend the agenda to do so, because originally, before read this again, I thought that option was going to be in there, but I think this would be the right move, the right compromise for now.
Thank you.
Wait, I have one more.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so the donate back, right? At the end of the year, I had a graduating senior, and there was option, you could roll it over to your other child to get a check, or you can donate it back. Would the donate back go to cut down on that 7,000? Is that where it goes?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
just so I know, because I have another senior coming through.
Yeah.
And my other kid doesn't eat school lunch.
The board to be clear before they go into a motion, because there isn't a tentative motion on the agenda here. I want to be clear, Jen, when you say it's 25, if they choose 25 cents or whatever the dollar amount is that they choose for the increase, it is for each meal in each building. That would be an increase on breakfast and lunch. So if you choose 25 cents, you'd be increasing the breakfast meal in every building by 25 cents and the lunch meal in every building by 25 cents. Just want to be clear.
I think they're referencing the average instead of the 40 cents being 20 cents or 25% or 25 cents. Is what they're inquiring.
I think you go back, there you go. Yep.
Already 25 cents for breakfast.
So it would be $3.40 for elementary lunch, $3.90 for, oh no. $3.75 for center school and $3.90 for high school.
And breakfast is already only 25 cents.
Yeah.
So on the motion that's on here, just with the update the meal price to the discussed 25 cents per meal per student?
I think you need to say specifically 25 cents, even though there's no dollar amount in that motion. Please include that so that we have it on the record for parents.
Again, per meal per student?
I found that our breakfast prices were pretty low for what we offer, even with the 25 cent increase. And it was comparable to the other districts. So, and also overall, there is less participation in breakfast than in lunch too, but that's okay. I don't know that the rest of the board.
I'd keep it as 25. I'd keep the increases as 25, just like you said. And you don't have as many people that participate in breakfast, in lunch, and I assume to an extent that's why it was a lower increase to begin with. And I think we're already bringing this down from 40 to 25 on all the others. I think this is a good compromise. I think it's a good compromise. Keep breakfast 25% increase, 25 across the board.
Stephen Carr, vote to accept and approve the reconsideration to updated meal price increase proposed submitted on May 7th, 2025, as presented by Jennifer Zarilli, Food Service Director for the 2025-2026 school year, with the revised meal prices adjusted 25 cents per meal per student.
Nate Beer, a second.
So for the record, as part of the discussion, I will be clear for parents who are taking note. Breakfast, if this action goes through, if this vote goes through, breakfast will be $2.25 next year at all schools. $3.40 at Black Rock for lunch, $3.75 at Center School for lunch, and $3.90 at the high school for lunch.
Any other further questions or discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstain? Motion carries. Thank you. Moving into our, thank you.
No, thank you.
Jennifer, for your
Thank you very
presentation
much.
and the
Mhm.
information.
Thank you. Thanks.
Moving into our student representative report.
Tyler Veronese. In regards for academics for the month of May, although the closing of the school year is rapidly approaching, students are still engaged in academic activities. On April 22nd, Thomaston Center School fifth grade class took a field trip to the Connecticut Museum of Culture and History. The fourth and fifth grade reading club met throughout the month on Tuesdays, as well as the math club running regularly throughout the month as well. On May 2nd, CNA students took a trip to Cook Willow for clinical training. And on May 6th, Thomaston Center School had math testing for all grades. This was day 1 out of 3, the 7th and 8th of May being the second testing days.
For clubs in May, the Choral Club practices on May 8th and the 15th. Student Council is hosting Mr. THS on May 16th. Mr. THS is a talent show for the senior boys to show off their talents. Let's see who will be crowned Mr. THS. Interact Club is volunteering for the Harvest Pack event on Saturday, May 17th from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. There is a Science Club field trip on May 29th to Black Rock State Park. The fishing club is hosting their end of year barbecue and fishing tournament on May 31st from 2 to 5 p.m.
In regards to athletics, spring sports are a little over midway through the season. As of May 1st, which is when this report was written, girls tennis sat at 4 to 4, boys tennis sat at 0 to 7, softball sat at 6 to 2, and baseball stood at 3 to 6. Finally, outdoor track is performing well and this can be seen in their success at the home meet against Northwestern Housatonic, which was seen earlier in April.
For special events in May, the senior class had senior spotlight photos taken for Facebook on May 2nd. There is a scholar athlete banquet on May 4th, an all-star assembly on May 5th. The prom promise mock trial was also on May 5th as well. The senior civics class took a field trip to the state capitol on May 7th. The BRS community read aloud was on May 9th. Junior and senior prom was also held on May 9th as well. There are senior capstone presentations on May 13th, 14th, and 15th. There's a life skills field trip to Adams, the post office, and Black Rock State Park on May 15th. The superintendent's student of the month breakfast is on May 16th. The senior class field trip to Holiday Hill is on May 22nd. The 7th grade class trip to Quasi is on May 23rd. The freshman and sophomore trip to Brownstone Adventure Park is on May 30th. And honors night for all grades 9 through 12th is on May 28th.
Thanks to my fellow student representative, it was just brought to my attention that boys had a successful game today, now leaving us standing at 4 to 7.
Thank you all very much. Moving into my report, we have our progress report on our 2024-2025 goals as presented. Tanya, did you have any updates on the 150th?
Just gonna do a shameless plug. We're still looking for volunteers for the parade June 28th and the food truck festival that is gonna occur after at Sanford Field. And on July 12th at Nystrom's for the Family Fun Day from 10 to 2. We're still looking for volunteers. Kids, I'll give you volunteer hours.
We're gonna have Steve Cargo on the intercom to advertise that with the radio voice. I do got a question for you about 150th though. So we're gonna be in the parade. Board of Ed? Is that a thing? I thought there was a thing.
Any board, commission, private
Yep.
entity, person could put anything they want in the parade.
Are they,
It's Thomaston proud.
are they in the parade?
They could be in the parade.
Does that include our student representatives?
They could be in the parade.
There you go.
The baseball team could be in the parade. The tennis team could be in the parade. Anybody that wants to be involved could be in the parade.
I got the answer.
Tanya, could you be clearer?
Just so you know, if you have a horse, a cow, a donkey, a chicken, you can put it in the parade. There is also an equine plaque for the best equine animal in the parade. So whatever you want to put in the parade, it's going to be a fun, amazing day. Please come and put it in the parade. Contact Alan Alaviro to make sure he knows you're in the parade lineup.
And if there are no participants, you can dress as a horse.
Does that include therapy dogs?
Yes, therapy dogs.
Do fish count?
Oh, the trout.
Best beard. Mr. Kozlak shaved it.
Okay, so now that everybody knows they can participate in any way that they want to, thank you very much. The third quarter honor roll is there as presented, as are our responses to the public comment at the last Board of Ed meeting, which contrary to what was said earlier, is very easy to find and not buried under mounds of information from the Board of Education. Moving on to our letters of recommendation for our student representatives for the 2025-2026 school year. We have our current board members who are in 11th grade, Lucas and Tyler. In addition, we have a recommendation for G. Wilmot Hungerford, who is in the audience with his parents. Thank you for attending. So if I could have a motion to accept these as our reps for next year, please.
Nate Viera, vote to accept / approve the recommendation of Lucas Koval, Tyler Veronese, and G. Wilmot Hungerford as the grade 12 co-student representatives for the 2025-2026 school year.
Beth Campbell, second.
I would just like to say that these students all came highly recommended, and we are glad that our current representatives will continue on and look forward to welcoming Will. So if I could have a vote, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstained?
I'm abstaining.
You guys are stuck with us now.
Thank you, Nate. We
You'll have
would
some
like
fun.
to say welcome, not stuck with.
Well, no, they're stuck with us. They're already here. They're already here. They
Welcome
just
back
got
and
voted back
welcome
on. Welcome back.
G.
Welcome
Wilmot.
back.
Thank you.
Can't wait to have you.
Congratulations. And then we have the Superintendent of Schools monthly report for May and our bonus May report. So can I have a motion regarding those?
Steve Carr, vote to accept and approve the superintendent of schools submission of the monthly report to support her progress in reaching the measurable areas of responsibility per policy 2400 per the action taken by the Board of Education during the December 9th, 2024 regular meeting.
Nate Viera, second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstain? Thank you. I will turn it over to Superintendent Koss.
Thank you. This is Francine Koss. Under correspondence, we have a number of thank you letters, shout out letters, and correspondence related to Parent Square. I ask that the board acknowledge these correspondence per policy 2131.
Steve Carr, vote to acknowledge the superintendent's correspondence per policy 2131, administration, superintendent of schools as presented.
Nate Viera, second.
Any questions? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstain? Thank you.
I have just a brief question on the micro-credential in AI. The way it was presented at the last meeting, or I think it was the meeting before actually, it didn't seem, is this them trying to recommend a class to be implemented? Because here where it says, is it micro-credential in the teachers? It's the teachers who have earned the
Teachers who
micro-credential. Okay.
participated
Right.
and the staff who participated received a micro-credential from Southern Connecticut State University.
Okay, just wanted the clarification. Thank you.
Thank you. The remaining correspondence is self-explanatory. Under reports, there are no general reports, but we have our administrator reports, which include 5 different curriculum guides for your approval. I ask that you accept and approve the high school outdoor adventure curriculum guide, the high school physical education grade 9 curriculum guide, the unified sports curriculum guide, and the grades 7 and 8 wellness guides.
Can I just lump those in all one motion? Nate Viera, motion to vote to accept / approve the high school outdoor adventure curriculum guide, the high school physical education 9 curriculum guide, the unified sports curriculum guide, the 7th grade wellness curriculum guide, and the 8th grade wellness curriculum guide as presented.
Steve Carr, second.
Any questions or concerns? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstain? Thank you.
Continuing on with my report, we have no information related to residency. We have one student discipline matter, no new homeschooling matters, and we have the May enrollment report. Moving on to personnel, We have two new hires, and I would like to make a note that one of those new hires is a return hire who left us and missed us and came back when we had a vacancy. We have no transfers, new assignments, and reassignments. We do have two resignations, and they are from last month's agenda because that was not approved. It was a stalemate. We have no new retirements, no terminations or non-renewals, no new stipends other than coaching stipends, which you can see there count as three. Tennis girls, tennis boys, and track and field. I ask that the board acknowledge my notification of personnel specifically as stated.
Francine, before I get into that real quick on 10.2.5 homeschooling, is that just a reporting of any changes or any what exactly would that entail as far as information? Because I do understand that there's some regulation discrepancies or issues with the state. And I just want to find out if there's something that we need to address or discuss.
So typically in that category in my report, I report to you any requests from parents in Thomaston who would like to withdraw their children from public school into homeschooling. That could be if they're withdrawing from one of our schools, from one of the magnet schools that we've given them permission to attend, or from one of the vocational technical schools. It can also be a parent new to town that just wants to inform us that we're new to town and we are not going to send our children to school. We are going to homeschool them. That notification comes regardless of what's happening right now at the state level. They had last week before was quite the gathering. And it was really more of a demonstration against blaming all homeschoolers for what occurred in Waterbury with the gentleman that started as a young man and was kept captive in his own home. But right now, the homeschooling law has not changed. There's nothing that appears to be up for change that's going to happen in the near future. Right now, all that the parents have to do is notify us that they are homeschooling, and that's it.
Thank you for that. Is there, just to be clear, because it's on the agenda and I'm just want to know the responsibility for, as a board member, of any updates or information, can the public address something at one of the meetings regarding homeschooling? Or is it, or where does it fall in our responsibilities with policies and concerns?
So you mean the law for homeschooling? So if someone came here to ask questions about how do I homeschool my child, it would be public comment. And they would get the same response that they would get if they were any other public comment, something in writing. But the response would be, we do not give input on homeschooling a child. The law does not require it. It's up to the parent. Some parents do offer more information than others, but parents can simply say, I have chosen to homeschool my child, and sign that letter and give that to us. And that is appropriate under the law in the state of Connecticut.
Steve Carr, vote to acknowledge the superintendent's notification of personnel, specifically new hires, transfers, new assignments, reassignments, resignations, retirements, terminations, non-renewals, stipend per policy 4112/4212, personnel certified, non-certified appointment, and conditions of employment as presented.
You're a second.
Any discussion? All those in favor of acknowledging this notification signify by saying aye. Aye. Can we have a roll call for that, please? Matt Van Ormer? Tanya? Stephen Carr? Nate Vera? Frank? Sarah?
Nay.
Roxy Finer, aye. Okay, so as it stands, the vote is 4 yes, 3 no, and 1 abstention. So we are determining where that leaves us.
I'm looking up Robert's rules to see how the abstention counts to determine if it counts as a positive, negative, or neutral. According to Robert's rules, abstentions are treated as neither affirmative nor negative votes when determining the outcome of a vote. Therefore, abstentions reduce the total number of votes cast in a particular vote, meaning that a smaller number of yes votes may be able to assume the majority threshold. So I have 4 yeses, 3 nos, and 1 abstention.
So the motion carries.
So sorry, continue with my report. We have 2 requests for family medical leave. We have no new interns or student teachers. We have no requests for out-of-state field trips and no requests for sales or disposal of books, equipment, or supplies. That concludes my report.
Yeah, under committee reports, the Achievement Committee met on April 30th. And we had the presentation of Francesco Treglia's capstone project regarding finals and midterms. And the grading policy committee headed by Mr. D. John Long presented their new proposal for the grading policy.
Steve Carr, discussing the business manager's report for the budget audit committee, in respect to, or with respect to members asking about potential date time changes for budget meetings to accommodate other schedules. It was discussed, and I actually had a lot of weight on the response from Tracy, because she's actually going outside of her schedule with us to actually make time for it. It is a convenient time for her to meet in the morning on the Wednesdays. So we wanted to increase participation. I understand the restrictions of members. That's why we've also tried to send out the manager's report and request any additional questions to be addressed at the meeting if in your absence, so that we can try to get the transparency and cooperation up to the best of our abilities. So that being said, expenditures for the month were $1,647,928.32. Vote to approve or accept the business and financial report and expenditures per policy 3432, 3433, business non-instructional operations, budget and expense report, annual financial statements as presented for April 2025.
Nate Vera, second.
Any questions or concerns?
Yeah, just, are we not supposed to have a motion for achievement, or?
We had no action to take out of the achievement committee. We just had those 2 presentations, so.
Okay, good to go. Just want to make sure.
I had a question about achievement too. Like, I was just curious. I know Francesco presented to the policy committee, but it would have been nice for the whole board to hear a student's take on that. So
Well,
that's
the
all.
board can attend the capstone presentation tomorrow because
I have to work.
So do I. Thank you for your input. Back to our budget motion. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstain? Moving into policy?
Matt Vinomer, we met right before this meeting, at 5 to go through the policy committee meeting. We, got presented again, Francesco's capstone project, about finals and whatever, and then we're gonna take that into review.
I'd like to make a statement. So Mr. Long is going to try and get the information to the board for when we put out the administrative reports on the 30th. This way, the board will have about a week before we have our board meeting. So if you have questions, because it's a very different and shorter version of what we have for a grading practice and program. And he wants to make sure that you have the time to read it. So if you do have questions, he can get back to you right away. So as soon as you see it, I'll put a reminder in when I send out the admin reports that that's in there and that you can send questions over to me if you want or directly to him. But he is going to be meeting with his committee and they're very committed to getting this to us because they want to get it in the handbook for June. Because the handbook will be brought before the Board of Ed for approval during the June meeting. That will also be coming out on the 30th. As something to give you time to read through it and you'll see what changes have been made.
I would also just kind of like to bring to everyone's attention in the public that these particular topics, along with information that has been attached to our agendas, are addressing public comments. So it is just to be noticed publicly that things are heard, things are being worked on, and the public notification is out there.
Yeah, I'll just say from the presentation today, great policy meeting. Amount of work that Mr. Long put into it. He did reference public comment and concerns brought up during the meeting. And I think once the last few kinks are ironed out, like were discussed in policy committee meeting, this is going to have a great positive lasting effect on the district. If you like more back to basics grading policy, as we've had people come up here and tell us that's the case before, I think you're going to like this policy. I was definitely very impressed by the meeting. And I was also very impressed. By Bernie's presentation, bringing back final exams. If you haven't looked at his presentation, we've had for the past few years, senior class after senior class, at least one senior come forward with a capstone presentation that highlights the importance of final exams, getting testimony from alumni from Thomaston High School, saying how they think it would better set them up for success in whether that be secondary or college, trades, or any walk of life. Highly recommend board members up here. One, and I'm the hypocrite this year. I'm not going to actually make it to capstones, unfortunately. But look at the capstones. Look at his presentation. He did a great job on it. He tackled the data in a much different way than I've seen before. And I think it's definitely should be food for thought for us, especially when Marzano comes to the side.
Time to make motions. Matt Van Ormer, I vote to accept and approve new policy 6142.104 play-based learning as presented.
Nate Beer, a second.
Any questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstain?
Abstain.
Matt Van Ormer, vote to accept and approve new policy 6148 FAFSA program as presented.
Nate Beer, a second.
Any questions? All those in favor?
I'm just gonna say, I know that this is a state mandate. We have to do this. I brought this up in policy. I voted abstain on the last one just because I agree with it. I think play-based learning is very good. I don't like that we're getting mandated. I don't like that we're being told that we have to do things in a certain way. We've had a bunch of presentations on play-based learning from our staff here. They did a great job on those presentations, and I think the implementation is going to be great. That's the only reason why I abstained. I'm going to be voting against the FAFSA thing. I know we have to pass it. I'm not giving the state a unanimous vote on something that they're forcing us to do, which frankly, I disagree with. I don't think that we should be forcing families that have no intention, or their students have no intention of going to college to fill out FAFSA, or God forbid, if you as a student, maybe you just don't have a great relationship at home, you got to put down information about your parent in FAFSA that you're never going to know. And then you got to have the sit down. And then there's a question about support. I know we have to. I disagree with the state mandating us to do so. It should be a family decision. And really the student's decision, because they're the ones that are going to be taking out student loans. They're going to be the ones going to college. And this is just mandating them. I know that there's a waiver, but either way, we're just putting more paperwork on people. I don't like it. I don't like the state's forcing on to do it. I'm voting no. I know we have to pass it, but that's that. State pisses me off. I rest my case.
Okay, thank you, Nathan. I just want to reiterate that parents do not have to complete this if they do not want to. There is a waiver
There's a waiver.
option,
But we're forcing them to do.
just for clarification. Okay. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Nay.
Abstain? Thank you.
Matt Van Ormer, I vote to accept and approve policy 5114 removal, suspensions and expulsions as presented.
Questions or comments? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstain? Thank you. I got you.
Second.
Reiterating what Matt said, so everybody can hear it, we would like to give out a shout out to Tanya for bringing this forward and getting this done. So that we have a new tool that is more equitable for everyone involved. It will be starting in the fall season. I'm getting there, right? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstain? Thank you. Have the next motion, please.
Steve Carr, vote to enter the executive session for the purpose of self-assessment of individual members of the leadership team, including discussing regarding goal attainment and handling of unanticipated challenges. Am I inviting anyone into this? Inviting Francine Koss.
Matt Normer second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right. Thank you very much to the public at home in here attending our meeting. Have a great night.